on Heart of Success show with me, Larisa. I'm here with you every Wednesday at 2 p.m. South Australian time zone. And I'm so happy and glad that you are here with me. And today, basically, this show is all about success. Success not only in your professional and business life, in your finances or stability, success in all areas of your life, relationships, your wellness, your health, your relationship with your children, your hobbies or things that you love to do, but you never find the time for it. So this show is all about success in all areas of your life. So today's topic is about creative force and creativity. So creative force is always available for us. It is from universal force that we can have access to it. But what I found is that we are so blocked and limited in receiving this creative force. And right now is the best time. The strong influence of the creative power is now available to all of us. So basically now we need to start to really pay attention and concentrate and focus on opening up and nurturing our receptive channel, our instrument. That is our anatomy and the body and all our other faculties for receiving this creative force and find our own personal creative force and creativity that then can contribute into this absolute health and happiness and success in our life. So some time ago, I have read an interesting observation of the scientists. So the scientist of the creative thinking with Dr. George Land and Beth Jarman some years ago been creating tests for the NASA, and they've been asked to test NASA rocket scientists and engineers on the potential of their creative thinking. I'm so happy you're here. I can see that you guys start to pop in. Hello, Vicky and MJ. I'm so happy you're here. And so basically, I just would like to explain about this very interesting survey. It's a long-term survey. So the scientists been created a test for the rocket scientists and the engineers from NASA to identify and test the potential of their creative thinking. So it ended up to be that all the engineers and rocket scientists are geniuses on the level of that test. And the test was so simple that this creative thinking scientists decided to test on just ordinary people. So they identify 1,600 children aged from age 4 and 5, and they just gave this test to these children. And what they identified, that out of these 1,600 children, all of them are geniuses. So basically, all of these children aged 4 and 5 displayed 100% genius level of creative thinking. So then they decided to give this same test during the time of five years for the same group of children. So they become now 9 and 10 years old children. And so what was surprising is that at that level, these children been showing 30% on the level of the genius. So 70% of children dropped out from that creative thinking space, and only 30% displayed that they still keep this flow of creativity. So then they decided to give the same test again in 5 years to teenagers now. They are now 14 and 15 years old teenagers. And what then was displayed is that the level of the creative thinking dropped up to 12%. So out of this 1,600 people, now only 12% of teenagers displayed a creative thinking at the level of that unabstracted, unblocked thinking. So they didn't stop on this. Then they decided that they will give the same test to the same teenagers now in 10 years. So these adults now 25 and 31 years old been given the same test. And you know what? That was absolutely shocking result. That was only 2% of these adult people displayed creative thinking. Isn't it, this is really a shocking result? Like if we look at the system and environment and our society, how we, from the genius level of the child of creative thinking, as adults, we dropped into 2%. So it means that only 2% of people right now, innovative and creative, and all the rest is following that creation. How sad is this to realize? So today I really would like to just share with you my own observation of my own life, and how I was going through discovering these creative pieces within myself. And also I have these 6 grandchildren in front of me. I'm seeing them every week or once in 2 weeks, and I spend some time with them, and how I can notice that the children, they really have this absolutely unblocked flow of creative force. I would like to stop and go and communicate with you here, and to see what you're thinking about it. Creative force is universal force, yes, but it's up to us if we are receptive for this force, and if we are having our receptive channel and openness to receive that force, so that we can discover our own personal life force that we can use. So Vicky said 5 years later they tested. Yes, every 5 years they've been testing this group of children that they started with, and that's just a absolutely shocking result. So how is that happening? Well, basically what is happening is that when we go through our childhood, when we start to learn and start to see how our families or our schools and all the environment around us is functioning, we start to adapt the standards, rules, regulations, dogmas, and all of these beliefs that slowly start to create shame and guilt about our own personal creative force and creative expression. Because most of the time what's happening is that our inner creative force and our unlimited creativity is almost never match in accordance to the rules and regulations and our environment, standards of our environment. And because of that, we start to develop shame and guilt of expressing it, because we're thinking that the public is not going to approve and not going to really like what we're expressing. So we start to suppress all of this material. So basically, the suppression is going on within ourselves, not only on the level of suppressing our negativity and our distractions and distortions and all these erroneous beliefs and faults. We also, in the same extent, to suppress our positive, divine, creative core that we have within ourselves, because we are creative beings and we have this natural creativity in ourselves that is actually a nature of our living, of our life. So that is really sad to see, and I have that direct observation from children that going from year to year of school, and how they actually start to cut themselves off from that creative force. And it is of course sad to see, but I'm trying to create the best environment for my children, but also within myself. I was always very shy about wanting and loving to create beauty and harmony within the inner space. I love to create harmony in terms of that interior design. I love colors and forms and different expression of that. But I always thought that this is something that, my family would not approve, or we go and learn the business, finances, economies, and all of these things, and we kind of thinking that this creativity that we have is something that possibly we can live to have as a hobby, or sometimes we then don't have time for it, and we basically completely cutting ourselves off from this creative force. But it is really affecting our beingness, our doingness. It affects all our life, because it affects our physical bodies, it affects our emotional states, it affects our psychological, and it is, of course, limited our connection to our divine spark. So this is really very important. And just going myself through participation in the theater, and that's the reason I really wanted to have that challenge with myself, to start to have these creative pieces that have been in the guilt and shame suppressed and been sitting in my system, and really taking a lot of energy to be held in suppressed form. So by starting to finding these suppressed pieces and start to really unfold them in the form of expressing yourself in a different form. So I choose theater, but I also express myself within my own environment comfortably. And when I'm in a zone, I can create and design, and I have pieces of fabric where I can do a lot of things and forms and different. And I'm in a zone. I'm happy. I'm just not even noticing the time when I'm doing it. But with expression of my acting was a little different, but I still wanted to challenge that. And I took on this journey of participating in the theatrical play. And it was very hard work, and also still very, very challenging to be seen on a stage by many, many people. So, but at the same time, it's like when we peel these, places within ourselves which hold this armor and holds this block of our creativity, we slowly start to get in touch with this place within ourselves that then can really surprise us. It can create so much of the beauty and value, not only for our own life but for other people. So we can serve from that place of complete connection and complete creative force that doesn't have any judgmental or any limitation or any doubts. It's like when I see my granddaughter, when she's got idea, I can see it in her eyes. She's got this idea. She's not staying there and thinking, do I do it, do I not? And she just start to do it. She just get whatever she needs to at this stage. And then through the process, as she goes from creating, let's say, some house for the insects, like she likes ants, and she creates a big box of the house for them with little beds and windows and all of these swings and things like that. She goes and finds on the spot what she needs for this creation, and she just creates and creates and creates. And then at the end, the result is like, 5 or 6 year old create these 3 levels of the house for insects with swings and windows and doors and beds and tables. It's like, it is so powerful. And then also what I noticed, that children, they don't really have this attachment to creation. So what I noticed, that adults, we create something with really big effort. We put in all our time in and effort and all the resources into creating something that we think gonna be for us forever, and we so attached to it. And then we basically cluttering and keep blocking our instrument from some new creation to come up. So what my granddaughter is doing, she is creating all of these different, boxes of creation, or some kind of, creative drawings or whatever it is. And it's like this pile and pile and pile and pile of creation in a few days that she stays here with me on her holiday. And then I would ask her, Maya, do you really need to keep anything? She would say, Babushka, I already protested. So she is saying she already processed all of this. She doesn't need it because she knows she will create something else. So let's see what you're thinking. How that is food for thought. Yes, it's some Facebook user, so I don't know who is that. You can give permission to the link, and so that I can see your name. So the MJ say, are we less creative as we become older? That's what seems like it's happening, because through this survey of this science of the creative thinking, they discovered that we, with adaptation of the rules and dogmas and all these regulations and all of these methods and environmental and social standards, we seems like we're losing our creativity. And all of these standards are really only right for the outer conduct. So it seems like it's never right for our inner conduct. So this is the disconnection that we going through, and I'm constantly observing these things, right? So MJ is a conscious knowledge robbing us from being creative and innovative. Well, it is what I would like to tell in my in my next piece of this show is that there is 2 directions that we need to start to look at when we thinking about creativity, or when we wanting to free up our creative force. Is 2 areas: is maturing emotionally and mentally. What does that mean? We always talk about how we can improve, or how can we mature. We talk about inner process, and we talk about become aware and accept and recognize and work with all these distortions, the patterns, negative patterns, all of these erroneous beliefs and images that we create when we children. But we are not really often talking about that at the same time as we suppressing this negative material. We also suppressing the positive. So at the same extent. So we need to start to look at these two areas of this suppression of the negativity and distortions, which we work through and we transform it into the positive. But we also need to find these pieces where are we suppressing that divine spark, that creative force, that creativity that we, for some reason, start to believe that it is, shame or guilty, or it is something that not important and things like that. So we need to start to find these two places within our emotional search. And there's also this emotional search is needs to be going at the same time. So what I mean by this is that we need to start to understand and learn how to control our thought process. So in here, there's also a couple of areas that are needs to be researched or looked at and paid attention to and become aware of. That we have these background thoughts and we have the foreground thoughts. And the difference is that the foreground thoughts are they more constructive. This is the thoughts that we have this attention to and we have the clarity about. But a lot of time and a lot of people have this constant recycling of the background thoughts that are really damaging, because they are, number one, they're not constructive. They recycling of the material that is constantly taking us back into the re-experiencing something that was not really a positive outcome. We analyzing, reanalyzing, and we thinking how that could be different and things like that. So, and also there's a wishful thinking. So there's 3 points, like, there's a conflict, inner conflict that is symptom of the unresolved emotions there on a background thought process, and also the recycling and a wishful thinking. So all of this material are taking so much energy and so much our mental space, and it is not really useful. So we need to learn how we can move this background thoughts into the foreground thoughts, and we can then select and eliminate the material that is not useful for us, that is not beneficial for us. So this is the process. There's a technique, very, very good technique, that possibly can be a topic for my another show, because it is it needs to be a little bit more kind of setting up and things like that. So it is probably could be an offer from my side to my listeners, or anyone who wants to start to tap into these spaces of the controlling the mental processes. So I can create a freebie for you, and then if you're interested, I can pass it on to you. This is very powerful practice that can only be done in 5 minutes a day. So basically, this is really a practice that everyone needs to start to implement to support the emotional process with the emotional process with a process and control of the thoughts. That two of this work can then really start to affect your creativity. It will start to give you more energy and tapping into these places to free up that creative force. So So there's a 3 steps, as I said, is like work with unconditional, unconscious, destructive, harmful, erroneous images, beliefs, and search for the suppressed, creative, positive, and divine force, and learn to understand how to control thought process. So this is like 3 steps we can take to start to really look at how we can freeing up our creativity and start to tap into this creative force so that we can start to regenerate in our life everything that we want. We want happiness, health, success. If we connect to that life force that we have within ourselves and we trust it, well, then we would create happiness, health, wellness, abundance, and success. I also would like to share with you, and it is a process of minute by minute choice. Really, it's a minute by minute choice. I would like to come here again and so yes, Vicky was saying yes, the theater, music, art. Yes, it is really it's helping us to really start to get into these places that possibly we suppress all our lives because, and this is said in one sense, and in another sense, it is something that we really need to start to strive for because only our knowledge about structures and standards and all of these rules and regulations. Yes, we can have these right things. We can behave correctly, but really what's going on within ourselves, it's never up to these rules. And we never can match that inner longing that we all looking for, and many people don't have any awareness that really what we need to have to start to connect to that force. So there's another so get that, I love that place. It seems to open a deeper space filled with connection, creativity, but not limited by time. Sure, absolutely. Well, we all possibly have that incline of this place where we completely lost ourselves in the creativity, and it is a beautiful place to be. How can we live our life constantly being in that place? It is a challenge. Of course, it is a challenge. So we need to become as a children again. We need to really believe in what we want to create. We have idea, we go for it. We don't even have the plan about this, I can see in the eyes of my granddaughter and boys as well. They have this creation. Like one of my grandson, he loves to build rockets or trains or trucks from chairs and blankets and cushions or wherever you have there. And it's like the idea spark, and that's it. Here he goes and grab all of these things, and he creates it, and he believes 1000% that this is rocket that he is creating. So let's see what's yes, non-attachment no attachment to creation can really free us up from the worries, anxieties, and stress about losing something, losing of our creation, because it's like the regenerative process. We created something that can be with us all our life, but a lot of time we create something that just goes through us. It creates some value for others, but then it is passing. And then there's this time, it can live for 5, 10, or 30 years, but there's time for us to create something else. So it is a regenerative. So Vicky, is technology making us more or less creative? Of course, technology makes us more creative because we can use technology to expand our creativity, not only to the level of our own state or country or our own group of people. So the technology is really helping, but at the same time, as everywhere else, golden balance needs to be achieved. And this is something that we all need to start to learn. How can we create that golden balance? Because technology can also consume us. It also can take us away from our creativity, a long way away, and it can harm us and damage our lives as well. So this is all about our own inner centering and finding that anchoring place within ourselves, that we connect to creativity, but we also, using our inner will, our mind, and our all higher faculties and practical faculties in a very balanced and very, very, aligned way. So yes, it's like we when we go through this learning, when we go through this growing in the environment where it is very standardized and very standard like, children start to really adapt this materialistic philosophy of life. So what we see now is that we're moving from that materialistic philosophy of life into the creative philosophy of life. But it is a long road. Each person needs to make that personal choice, how they go about their own creative force and how they really look at finding that creativity within themselves and start to really tap into this power of using this natural capacity that you given at birth, right? So and it is like on everyday basis. I'm not talking about creating a famous painting or music or anything. It's like on everyday basis we can display, when we can use our creativity. I would like to share with you a funny kind of my own personal experience with like we have this of course, we have taxations or some, land tax, or we have the council rates to pay when we own houses and lands, and when we have to pay these taxes. And the council rate is something that is look after our rubbish collections or the lighting of the streets and quality of the roads and things like that. And in my case, I'm having 89 acres of land, and in my case, the council is not looking after my green waste. It is or my food scraps and things like that. So this is like on my land. Of course, I can have the compost facility that can look after all of this, but at the same time, I'm paying at a premium rate, because they calculated on the size of the land, on the size of the piece of land you have. So I'm paying premium rate for this, and within myself I always felt a little frustrated about paying top dollar for the facility of council to collect rubbish from my property and things like that, but they don't doing it for the green waste as they do in the city. And that piece of frustration and like sense of unfairness been sitting there, and I couldn't really work out what to do. And then I realized that what I am holding in that frustrated place is that like the piece of like take care of me, like, well, take care of me, I'm paying you money, well, you have to take care of me. Well, in my case, they just don't have this structure, and they don't take care of me. So I need to take care of myself. I need to become very creative. And once I realize that, I need to really create my own compost facility that is so good, that is not attracting mice and rats and things, that is going to be my own creation. I straight away had this fountain of energy within myself, and frustration just completely disappeared because I become excited about creating something for myself instead of sitting in a place of take care of me. I need you to take care of me. Right? So the creativity is something that really is in our day-to-day life. It can be in the kitchen or somewhere else in the garden, with in relationships and things like that. So if we have this frustrated feeling about something and we demand others to take care of us, we kind of suppressing our creativity. So I think I kind of, shared everything today with you that I wanted to share this. Of course, there's so much on the creativity and creative force. There's so much needs to be uncovered and unearthed, and so much needs to be getting into our awareness and attention. But the main things I want to really share with you is that we now, at the very, very important time in our human evolution, that we have this very, very strong creative influx from the universe, of that creative power and creative force that is given to us. Our task is to prepare and build our own receptive, creative channel, the instrument that is open up for the receival of this powerful universal energy, and align with that. So I would like to leave you with this today, and I really would like to have you for my next show on next Wednesday at 2 p.m. South Australian time zone. And I'm so happy that you've been here. Thank you so much, Vicky, MJ, and a couple of other people here. I don't see the names, but I'm so glad you're here listening and supporting. So thank you so much, and I love you all. Bye.